The worst conversations always happen over dessert. Maybe it's because everyone's guard is down, or because my mother Eleanor thinks serving her signature lemon tart makes her immune to criticism. Either way, I was pushing crumbs around my plate when Dad's phone lit up with a hospital number. I'm Felicity, and I've spent 29 years perfecting the art of keeping my face neutral while my family implodes around me. Tonight was no different. Gene Howard speaking, Dad answered, his fork suspended halfway to his mouth. I watched his expression shift from mild annoyance to something darker. What do you mean, detectives? My son was admitted for dehydration. Mom's head snapped up so fast I thought she'd give herself whiplash. What's wrong with Axel? I took another bite of tart, letting the sharp citrus cut through the thickness in my throat. 3 hours earlier, I'd submitted an anonymous email to the district attorney's office. Now I was watching the consequences unfold in real time, like a slow-motion car crash. Fitting, considering. This is ridiculous, Dad muttered, ending the call. The police are trying to interview Axel about some accident. They're saying a girl was hurt. Accident? Mom's voice went shrill. Our Axel would never— He would, I said quietly. And he did. They both turned to stare at me. Mom's perfectly manicured hands gripped the edge of our antique dining table, the one she'd insisted on keeping even when they downsized to this suffocating suburban house. What do you know about this? She demanded. Only what everyone else will know soon enough. I stood up, gathering plates because movement was easier than eye contact. That Axel got drunk again, got behind the wheel again, and this time he nearly killed someone. You don't know that, Dad protested weakly. A 17-year-old girl is in intensive care, I said, stacking dishes with precise movements. Her name is Violet. She was walking home from her after-school job when Axel mounted the curb. Mom's face went from red to white. How could you possibly— Because I was there. The plates clattered in my hands. I followed him from his birthday party because he could barely stand up straight. I watched him hit her, and I watched him check his hair in the rearview mirror before even looking at her body on the ground. Silence fell like a guillotine. Then Mom started crying. Those practiced tears she'd perfected over years of getting Axel out of trouble. We'll hire lawyers, she said, reaching for Dad's hand. The best ones. We'll handle this like we always do. And how will you pay for that? I asked, though I already knew what was coming. Well, Mom straightened her spine, switching from tears to steel in an instant. Your apartment downtown. You barely need it. Working remotely now. If we sold it— I laughed. I couldn't help it. My apartment? The one I saved 6 years for? The one you tried to talk me out of buying because Axel might need a place to stay someday? He's your brother, Dad found his voice. Family helps family. Family helps family, I repeated. Like when you drained my college fund to pay for his first rehab stint, or when you convinced my high school principal to put his drunk driving incident on my record instead of his, so he wouldn't lose his sports scholarship. Mom stood up, her chair scraping against the hardwood. That's ancient history. Right now your brother needs— What Axel needs is consequences, I cut her off. Real ones this time. You're being cruel, Mom whispered. This could ruin his life. I walked to the front door, grabbing my coat. No, Mom. He did that himself. And this time, there's proof. Proof? Dad's voice cracked. I turned back one last time, watching their faces as realization dawned. My new car has a dash cam. Records everything, front and back. Crystal clear footage. Excellent audio. The kind prosecutors love. Mom lunged forward, grabbing my arm. You wouldn't dare. He's your blood. I gently removed her hand. Blood doesn't wash away other people's blood, Mom. And I'm done pretending it does. My phone buzzed. A text from Detective Swanson confirming receipt of the footage. I showed them the screen, watching their faces crumple. I'll see myself out, I said quietly. I'm sure you'll be busy with lawyers. But this time, you might want to hire ones for yourselves too. covering up 3 DUIs. That's quite a paper trail. As I walked to my car, I heard Mom's wails echoing through their perfect house. Dad would be comforting her, like always. They'd be planning Axel's defense, like always. But this time, I had chosen a different role. This time, I chose justice over family loyalty. And God help me, it felt like freedom. 3 days before the Sunday dinner disaster, I sat in my parked car outside the copper room, watching Axel stumble through his own birthday celebration. Through the restaurant's windows, I could see him getting progressively drunker, ignoring the concerned looks from his friends, especially Damien, who kept trying to take his keys. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Why aren't you at your brother's party? He's asking for you." I didn't respond. Instead, I adjusted my dashcam's angle and waited. Call it instinct, call it experience. I knew how this night would end. Sure enough, at 11:42 p.m., Axel burst out of the restaurant. Damien followed, reaching for him. "Come on, man. Let me call you an Uber." "Get off me." Axel shoved him away. "I'm fine. Totally fine." I started my engine as Axel fumbled with his car door. Damien threw his hands up in defeat and walked away, pulling out his phone, probably to call our parents. But they lived an hour away. Too far to help. Axel's Audi swerved out of the parking lot. I followed at a safe distance, my dashcam recording everything. The first 10 minutes were bad enough, him weaving between lanes, barely making stops. Then we hit the residential streets. That's when I saw her, a teenage girl in a McDonald's uniform, walking along the sidewalk with headphones in. She was doing everything right, facing traffic, staying well away from the curb. It happened so fast. Axel's car suddenly jerked right. The girl, Violet, looked up at the last second. The sound of impact made me slam my brakes. "No, no, no!" I heard myself scream on the dashcam recording. "Oh God, please no!" Violet's body had been thrown several feet. She wasn't moving. Axel's Audi had mounted the curb, its front end crumpled against a tree. I grabbed my phone to call 911, but someone else had already done it. I could hear sirens in the distance. Through my windshield, I watched Axel stumble out of his car. The dashcam caught everything. Him checking his reflection in his side mirror, running his hands through his hair, then looking at his car's damage before finally glancing at Violet's motionless form. "Shit," he muttered, loud enough for my cam to pick up. "Shit, shit, shit." He didn't approach her, didn't try to help. Instead, he pulled out his phone. "Mom?" His voice cracked. "I need you. I messed up again." I sat there, shaking, as emergency vehicles arrived. The paramedics rushed to Violet while police officers approached Axel. I heard him starting his usual routine, slurred charm, name-dropping our father's golf buddies who worked in law enforcement. But this time was different. This time there was proof. Back at my apartment, I plugged the dash cam into my laptop. The footage was perfect, clear, damning, impossible to explain away. My hands trembled as I created 2 copies. One for the DA's office, one for Violet's family's lawyer. My phone kept buzzing. Mom again. "Axel's in the hospital. Dehydration, they're saying. Where are you?" Dehydration. Right. Because heaven forbid they admit their precious son was drunk again. A knock at my door made me jump. Detective Quentin Swanson stood there, looking apologetic. "Ms. Howard? Sorry for the late visit, but we need to talk about your brother's accident." I let him in, noting how his eyes took in every detail of my apartment. The sparse furniture, the artwork I'd saved for, the life I'd built without family help. "How did you know where to find me?" "Your brother's friend Damien mentioned you were at the restaurant." Quentin sat when I gestured to my couch. "Said you often follow Axel when he's been drinking. Keep him safe." "Not safe enough," I whispered. "The girl's going to live," Quentin said gently. "But her injuries are severe. Broken pelvis, concussion. She may never walk normally again. My laptop screen still showed the paused dashcam footage. Quentin's eyes locked onto it. Is that from tonight? I nodded slowly. I was going to send it anonymously, but I guess that's not an option now. It would help our case, he said. But I should warn you, your family won't take this well. I thought about all the times they'd covered for Axel. All the money spent, the favors called in, the lives potentially put at risk. I thought about Violet, just trying to get home from work. My family stopped taking me well a long time ago, I said, reaching for my laptop. Would you like to see the footage now? Quentin nodded, pulling out his notebook. As I pressed play, I heard Axel's voice in my head. You're my big sister. You're supposed to protect me. But maybe, just maybe, it was time to protect everyone else from him instead. The police station's fluorescent lights made everyone look sickly. I sat in the hard plastic chair, watching Axel through the one-way glass as Detective Quentin questioned him. Mom and Dad weren't allowed in, something about potential witness tampering concerns. I barely had anything to drink, Axel insisted, his usual charm cracking under pressure. That girl, she just came out of nowhere. Security footage from the copper room shows you had 7 drinks in 3 hours, Quentin replied calmly. And the dashcam footage clearly shows Ms. Mack was on the sidewalk when you mounted the curb. Axel's face went pale. Dashcam footage? I turned away, unable to watch his realization. In the hallway, I noticed a woman sitting alone, her clothes wrinkled like she'd been wearing them for days. She was staring at her coffee cup like it held answers. Are you Violet's mom? I asked softly. She looked up, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. Olivia, she said. You must be the sister? I nodded, sitting beside her. I'm Felicity. How is Violet? They're saying 6 months of physical therapy, minimum. Olivia's voice cracked. She was saving up for college, working double shifts. Now she can barely get to the bathroom by herself. I'm so sorry, I whispered. If I had stopped him somehow. You did stop him, Olivia interrupted. That footage, the police said without it, this would be his word against hers. And we both know how that usually goes. Through the window, I could see Axel starting to cry. His go-to move when charm failed. Quentin didn't react, just kept laying out evidence. My phone buzzed again. 15 missed calls from Mom, 12 from Dad. A text popped up. Why aren't you helping your brother? What kind of sister are you? Olivia noticed my expression. Family pressure? They want me to sell my apartment to pay for his lawyers, I said, surprising myself with the admission. They always find a way to make his problems everyone else's responsibility. Sounds familiar, Olivia sighed. Violet's father was the same way. Always someone else's fault. Always someone else's job to fix things. That's why he's not in the picture anymore. A commotion down the hall made us both look up. My parents had arrived, Mom's voice carrying through the station. This is ridiculous. You can't keep us from our son. Actually, ma'am, we can, an officer replied, especially given the new evidence about previous incidents. I froze. Damien must have talked. Previous incidents? Olivia asked quietly. This is his 3rd DUI, I admitted. The others were handled quietly. By handled, you mean covered up. It wasn't a question. I nodded anyway. Felicity! Mom spotted me, charging down the hallway with Dad trailing behind. She stopped short when she saw Olivia. Who is this? I'm the mother of the girl your son nearly killed, Olivia said, standing slowly. Despite being shorter than my mother, she somehow seemed to tower over her. Mom deflated slightly but rallied quickly. It was an accident. These things happen. We're prepared to handle any medical expenses, of course, privately. No, Olivia cut her off. No more private handling. No more sweeping things under rugs. My daughter deserves justice, not hush money. How dare you? Mom started. but Dad pulled her back as Quentin emerged from the interrogation room. "Mr. and Mrs. Howard," he said firmly, "your son is being charged with aggravated assault, DUI, and leaving the scene of an accident. Given his previous incidents and the severity of Ms. Mack's injuries, we're recommending no bail." "Previous incidents?" Dad sputtered. "What previous incidents?" "Ask Damien," I said, standing beside Olivia. "He finally told them about the hit and run last year. The one you paid to make disappear." Mom's face contorted with rage and betrayal. "You put them up to this. You turned Damien against us." "No, Mom. Axel did that all by himself." "Felicity," Dad tried, his voice gentler. "We're family. We need to stand together." I looked at Olivia, saw the strength in her exhaustion, the fierce protection of a mother who couldn't be bought. "I am standing," I said quietly. "I'm just not standing where you want me to." Mom opened her mouth to argue, but a commotion from the interrogation room stopped her. Axel was being led out in handcuffs, his face streaked with tears. "Mom! Dad!" he called out. Then his eyes found me. "Felicity, please! Tell them it wasn't like that. Tell them you know I'd never hurt anyone on purpose." I met his desperate gaze. "But you did hurt someone, Axel. And this time, you're going to face it." As they led him away, I heard Mom's sharp intake of breath, felt Dad's disappointment like a physical weight. But standing next to Olivia, watching my brother finally face consequences, I felt something else too. Relief. The pounding on my apartment door started at 3 a.m. I knew it was Mom before I even checked the peephole. Nobody else could make knocking sound quite so accusatory. "Open this door right now, Felicity." I considered pretending I wasn't home, but that would only delay the inevitable. When I opened the door, Mom burst in like a hurricane in designer clothes. "Fix this," she demanded, whirling to face me. "Whatever you did, whatever you told them, take it back. It's 3 a.m, I said, closing the door. "And there's nothing to fix. The dashcam footage shows exactly what happened. That's not what I mean, and you know it." She paced my living room, her heels clicking against the hardwood I'd refinished myself. "Call Damien. Tell him to recant his statement about the previous accident. Tell him you'll make it worth his while." I laughed bitterly. "With what money, Mom? The money you want me to get from selling my apartment?" "Don't be dramatic. This is about your brother's life." "No," I said, suddenly tired of dancing around it. "This is about you and Dad never letting Axel face consequences. Remember my senior year, when he got drunk and crashed Dad's car?" Mom's face tightened. "That was different." "Different how? Because I took the blame? Because you convinced the principal to put it on my record instead of his, so he wouldn't lose his football scholarship? You were stronger. You could handle it. I was 17. My voice cracked. "Do you know what that did to my college applications? My job prospects? But hey, at least Axel got to party through his freshman year before dropping out anyway." Mom sank onto my couch, her anger deflating slightly. "We did what we thought was best." Best for who? Because it wasn't best for me when you drained my college fund for his first rehab stint. Or when you guilted me into turning down that job in Seattle because Axel needs his sister close by. He did need you. He still needs you. What about what I need? I moved to the window, looking out at the city lights. "Do you know why I bought this apartment? Because it was the first thing that was just mine. Something you couldn't take away to fix another one of Axel's mistakes. And now you're throwing him to the wolves out of spite?" I turned back to her. "I gave the police evidence of a crime. That's not spite, Mom. That's citizenship. It's betrayal." She stood up, trembling. "You betrayed your own blood." "When has Axel ever bled for me?" The question hung in the air between us. Mom's face went through a kaleidoscope of emotions before settling on something cold and hard. "You want to know about bleeding? Fine. Remember when you needed that emergency appendectomy in college? Who do you think paid for that?" "I did," I said quietly. I'm still paying off the loans. Because the money we saved for your medical emergencies went to Axel's legal fees after that bar fight. We had no choice. You always had a choice, Mom. You just always chose him. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. I know what you think of us. Poor Felicity, the responsible one, always sacrificing for her troubled brother. But you don't understand what it's like, watching your child struggle, knowing one wrong move could destroy their future. What about Violet's future? I asked. The girl who might never walk properly again? Does her struggle matter less than Axel's? That's not fair. None of this is fair, Mom. It never has been. I walked to my door and opened it. But maybe it's time it was. She didn't move. If you do this, if you let them prosecute him, you'll destroy this family. No, Mom. The family was destroyed a long time ago. We just kept painting over the cracks and calling it whole. Is that your final answer? Her voice was ice now. You're choosing strangers over your own brother? I'm choosing right over easy. Something you and Dad never taught us to do. She walked to the door, then paused. When Axel goes to prison, and he will, thanks to you, I hope you can live with yourself. I already live with myself, Mom. That's the difference between me and Axel. I met her gaze steadily. I face my choices head on. Even when they hurt, she left without another word. I locked the door behind her, then slid down against it, finally letting the tears come. My phone buzzed, a text from Olivia. Violet asked about you today. Said she'd like to meet her guardian angel. Guardian angel. The irony would be funny if it didn't hurt so much. But as I sat there in my quiet apartment, surrounded by the life I'd built despite my family's best efforts to tear it down, I realized something. Sometimes being an angel means wielding a flaming sword. Sometimes protection requires destruction first, and I was finally ready to burn it all down. Hospital rooms always smell like false hope and hand sanitizer. I stood in Violet's doorway, clutching a small potted succulent, watching her flip through TikTok videos on her phone. You can come in, she said without looking up. I heard your breathing. I stepped inside, setting the plant on her bedside table. I wasn't sure if you'd want to see me. You're the dash cam lady, Violet said, finally meeting my eyes. I recognized your voice from the recording. You screamed when he hit me. I'm also his sister, I admitted, though that feels like a life sentence some days. She smiled slightly, adjusting herself in the bed with a wince. Mom says you're the reason they believed me. The cops, I mean. They usually don't, you know, when it's just our word against someone with money. I know. I sat in the visitor's chair. Trust me, I know. Your parents came by yesterday, she said, her voice tightening. Tried to talk Mom into settling privately. Offered to pay for my college if we'd drop the charges. My stomach churned. Of course they did. Mom threw them out. Violet's grin turned fierce. Told them she'd rather see me walk again than see me in Harvard. A knock at the door interrupted us. Damien stood there, looking uncomfortable in his business casual clothes. Sorry, he said. Detective Quinton asked me to come by. Something about additional statements? Come in, I waved him forward. Violet, this is Damien. He used to be Axel's best friend. Used to be, Damien emphasized, taking the other chair. Until I couldn't keep covering for him anymore. The hit and run last year? Violet asked. Damien nodded. He clipped a parked car. Owner was still in it. Got whiplash. I helped him leave before cops came because, well, that's what friends did, right? But then he laughed about it later. Actually laughed. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Local DUI case reveals pattern of cover-ups. Great, I muttered, showing them the screen. It's gone public. Good, Violet said firmly. Let everyone see. Another knock. Detective Quinton this time, looking grimmer than usual. We found the financial records, he said without preamble. Your parents' shell accounts? The payments to the previous victim's family, even the school board member who altered your record instead of your brother's. My chest tightened. How bad is it? Obstruction of justice, witness tampering, conspiracy. He shrugged. They're looking at charges too, unless they cooperate. They won't, Damien and I said simultaneously. Already haven't, Quentin confirmed. They're claiming harassment, threatening to sue the department. Your father's got his golf buddy lawyers involved. Violet shifted in her bed, grimacing. Will that work? No, I said, surprising myself with my certainty. Not this time. My phone buzzed again. A text from Mom. Hope you're happy. Your father's being called before the ethics board at his firm. This vendetta of yours is destroying everything we built. I showed the message to Quentin. They still think this is about revenge. Isn't it? Violet asked quietly. Even a little bit? I looked at her. Really looked at her. 17. Brilliant. Broken, but not beaten. Like I'd been once, before I learned to swallow my pain and smile through Sunday dinners. Maybe it started that way, I admitted. But now? Now it's about making sure you're the last person my brother hurts. Speaking of hurt, Damien interjected, there's something else you should know. He pulled out his phone, showing us a video. This was 2 weeks before your accident. Axel, drunk again, bragging about how he'd never face consequences because family takes care of family. Quentin took the phone, his expression hardening. This'll help the prosecution establish pattern and intent. It'll help establish something else too, I said, standing up. That enabling isn't love, it's just slow poison. My phone buzzed one more time. Dad. Your mother's having anxiety attacks. The neighbors are talking. Please, sweetheart, help us fix this. I showed the message to Violet. She reached for my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. You know what my physical therapist says? She asked. That sometimes things have to hurt worse before they can heal right. Otherwise, they heal wrong, and you're stuck with the damage forever. Damien stood up, squeezing my shoulder. I'll testify. About everything. The other accidents, the cover-ups, all of it. Me too, I said, squeezing Violet's hand back. No more family secrets. No more false healing, Violet added. Quentin nodded, heading for the door. I'll need you both downtown tomorrow. And Felicity? Your parents' lawyers might come after you next. They're already talking defamation suits. I thought about my apartment, my savings, everything I'd built. Then I looked at Violet's determined face, at Damien's quiet support, at the truth finally breaking free. Let them come, I said. Some things are worth losing everything to fix. The stack of financial documents on my kitchen table told a story 20 years in the making. Each paper was another thread in the tapestry of my family's lies. Look at this, Damien said, highlighting a line item. $10,000 to the school board treasurer, right after Axel's first DUI was transferred to your record. And here, I pointed to another transaction, $20,000 to the family whose car he hit last year, listed as a charitable donation. My laptop pinged with another email from my company's HR department. Third one this week. Still pressuring you to recant? Damien asked. Apparently my parents are close friends with our biggest client. I closed the laptop. They're suggesting I take an extended leave of absence. You mean they're firing you? Not officially. That would be illegal. I laughed without humor. They're just making it impossible to stay. My phone lit up with Axel's face. His 5th call from jail today. I let it ring. You should probably answer eventually, Damien said quietly. The trial's in 2 weeks. What's he going to say that he hasn't said before? Please, sis, fix this like you always do? A knock at the door made us both jump. Olivia stood there with takeout bags. Thought you could use dinner, she said, coming in. Violet's at physical therapy, and I couldn't stand another hospital cafeteria meal. She spread Chinese food containers across the table, carefully moving aside our paper trail of family corruption. How's she doing? I asked, grabbing plates from the kitchen. Better. She took 10 steps today without the walker. Olivia's eyes caught on a bank statement. Is that the account they used to pay off Axel's problems? Yeah. I handed her a plate. 2 decades of making other people's pain go away with money. Not anymore, Damien said firmly, reaching for the fried rice. The DA's office is having a field day with this stuff. My phone rang again. This time it was Dad. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello? Sweetheart. His voice was tired, desperate. Please, your mother hasn't slept in days. The partners at my firm are calling for my resignation. We can still fix this if I just what, Dad? Lie? Destroy evidence? Let Axel hurt someone else? He's sick. He needs help, not prison. He's had help, I shouted, making Olivia and Damien freeze mid-bite. 3 rehab centers, 2 therapists, countless second chances. When is it enough? He's your brother, and Violet is someone's daughter, someone's sister. Why is Axel's life the only one that matters? Silence crackled over the line. Then, your mother wants to know if you've touched the trust fund yet. What trust fund? The one in your name. We set it up when you were born, before... He paused. Before Axel needed so much. I put the phone on speaker, letting Damien and Olivia hear. What are you saying? There's still money there. Quite a bit. It could help with your current situation. With work, I mean. Understanding dawned. You're trying to buy me off. We're trying to help you, like you helped that family last year? Or my high school principal? I looked at the documents scattered across my table. How many people's silence have you bought, Dad? Everything we did for this family. No, I said quietly. Everything you did for Axel. And now you want to use my own money to shut me up. Felicity, I'd rather be homeless than take your blood money. I hung up. Olivia reached across the table, squeezing my hand. You're not going to be homeless, she said firmly. My sister's a partner at a design firm. She's been looking for someone with your skills. And my apartment's got a spare room, Damien added, if you need it. My phone buzzed again, Axel's face lighting up the screen. This time I answered. Sis? His voice was small, broken. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For what, Axel? For Violet? For the other accidents? Or for letting me take the fall all those years ago? For everything. Please, I can't do prison. I can't. You can, I cut him off. And you will. Because this time, I'm not fixing it. This time, you get to feel what breaking feels like. I hung up before he could respond. Olivia pushed a fortune cookie toward me. Open it, she said softly. Maybe the universe has something to say. I cracked it open, reading aloud. The truth costs everything and nothing. Well, Damien raised his water glass. Here's to paying the price. We clinked glasses over the evidence of my family's crimes, over 20 years of secrets finally seeing daylight. And somehow, despite everything I was losing, I felt lighter than I had in years. Sometimes the heaviest chains are the ones we forge from loyalty. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters. I helped Violet navigate through them, her cane clicking against the marble as cameras flashed around us. Ms. Howard, how does it feel to testify against your own brother? Violet, are you satisfied with the charges? Any comment on your parents' pending obstruction charges? Olivia stepped between us and the press. My daughter is here to tell the truth. That's all anyone needs to know. Inside, the courtroom was already packed. My parents sat in the front row behind the defense table, Mom in her best pearl necklace, Dad in his power suit. They didn't look at me. Axel sat beside his lawyer, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. He'd lost weight in jail, his usual confidence replaced by something darker. All rise. The trial moved quickly. The prosecution presented the dash cam footage first. Watching it on the big screen, hearing Violet's impact and my own screams, made it feel raw all over again. Then it was Violet's turn. I saw headlights, she testified, her voice steady. Then pain. I remember thinking about my little sister's dance recital. I was supposed to be there next week. Then I heard someone talking about their car being damaged, not asking if I was okay, just complaining about their car. Axel's lawyer tried to suggest she'd been wearing dark clothing, listening to music too loudly. Violet shut him down. I was wearing my McDonald's uniform. It's bright red. And yes, I had headphones in, but I was on the sidewalk, where cars aren't supposed to be. When Damien took the stand, my parents finally showed emotion. Tell us about the incident from last year, the prosecutor prompted. Axel hit a parked car with someone inside. He was drunk like usual. The driver got whiplash. I helped Axel leave before police arrived because Damien glanced at my parents. Because that's what we were all trained to do. Protect Axel, no matter who it hurt. Objection, Axel's lawyer stood. Speculation about third parties? Overruled, the judge said. Continue. The family paid the victim to keep quiet, Damien finished, like they always did. Then it was my turn. Walking to the witness stand felt like crossing an ocean. Ms. Howard, the prosecutor began, please tell us about the night of the accident. I described following Axel from the restaurant, the crash, his reaction. Then came the harder part. This wasn't the first time your brother drove drunk, was it? No. I looked directly at Axel. The first time was in high school. He crashed Dad's car. I took the blame because our parents convinced me it would ruin his future if I didn't. Liar, Mom's voice rang out. The judge banged his gavel. Mrs. Howard, control yourself or leave the courtroom. The prosecutor held up a document. This is your high school disciplinary record, showing that DUI. But this bank statement shows a payment to the school board treasurer that same week. Can you explain? Our parents paid to have the incident transferred to my record instead of Axel's. He had a football scholarship at stake. I swallowed hard. I lost 3 college acceptances because of it. Axel's lawyer tried to paint me as bitter, jealous, out for revenge. But the evidence was too strong. The bank records, the dash cam, Damien's video of Axel bragging about immunity. When the jury returned after only 2 hours, we all knew. On the charge of aggravated assault while driving under the influence, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of leaving the scene of an accident, guilty. On the charge of reckless endangerment, guilty. Axel crumpled in his seat. Mom started sobbing. Dad just stared straight ahead. The defendant will be remanded to custody pending sentencing, the judge announced. Additionally, given the evidence presented today, I'm referring this case to the District Attorney's Office for investigation into potential charges against Eleanor and Jean Howard for obstruction of justice and witness tampering. As bailiffs led Axel away, he looked back at me one last time. All the charm was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like understanding. Outside, Violet faced the reporters with her head high. Justice isn't about revenge, she told them. It's about making sure nobody else gets hurt. Mom pushed through the crowd toward me. I hope you're happy, she hissed. You've destroyed everything. No, Mom. I just stopped helping you hide the destruction that was already there. She raised her hand. To slap me or point at me, I'll never know. Because Olivia stepped between us. I'd think carefully about that, Olivia said quietly. You're already facing charges. Don't add assault to the list. Mom lowered her hand, tears streaming down her face. You were supposed to protect him. I protected everyone else instead, I said, and I'd do it again. As they led my parents away for processing, Violet squeezed my hand. Ready to go home? She asked. I looked at my chosen family, Violet, Olivia, Damien, and felt something like peace. Yeah, I said. I'm ready. The autumn breeze carried the scent of grilling burgers through my apartment's open windows. On the balcony, Damien was trying to convince Violet that his secret sauce recipe was world famous. World famous in your own mind, maybe, she teased, balancing easily now without her cane. Her physical therapy had paid off. She'd even started dancing again last week. Don't knock it till you've tried it, he protested, flipping a burger with exaggerated flair. My phone buzzed. A text from Detective Quinton. Thought you'd want to know. Your parents took the plea deal. 18 months probation, community service, and mandatory ethics training. Plus, full restitution to all previous victims. Good news? Olivia asked, noting my expression as she arranged buns on a plate. The best kind, I said, showing her the message. No more covering up other people's crimes. The doorbell rang. My new boss, Olivia's sister Rachel, stood there with a bottle of wine and a folder. Sorry I'm late, she said, handing me both. But I brought a housewarming gift and your updated contract. Full partnership track, just like we discussed. I set the folder beside my laptop, where a draft of my memoir sat open. Perfect timing. We're just about to eat. Speaking of perfect timing, Damien called from the balcony. Dinner is served. We gathered around my new dining table, a housewarming gift from Violet and Olivia. The old one held too many memories of sorting through evidence and family secrets. Should we make a toast? Rachel suggested, pouring wine. To justice, Violet said immediately. To healing, Olivia added. To chosen family, Damien raised his glass. My phone buzzed again. Axel's prison number. I'd been expecting this call since his sentencing last week. This time, I answered on speaker. Hey, sis. His voice was different now, clearer, less entitled. I'm not calling to ask for anything. I read your impact statement again, the one you submitted to the judge. Everyone at the table went quiet. And, I prompted, you wrote that enabling isn't love, that real love means letting people face consequences. He paused. You were right. I see that now. Better late than never, I said softly. Mom and Dad visited yesterday. They're different too. Dad actually said no when I asked him to put money in my commissary account. He laughed, but it wasn't bitter. First time he's ever refused me anything. Growth comes in strange ways, I said, looking around at my chosen family. Sometimes it takes losing everything to find what you really need. I'm sorry, Felicity, for all of it. The accident, the cover-ups, letting you take the blame in high school. He took a shaky breath. I know sorry doesn't fix it, but I'm doing the work now. Real work, not just saying what people want to hear. I know you are, I said. The Victim Impact Panel coordinator told me about your speech last week. You watched it? Online. Violet did too. Hi, Axel, Violet spoke up. Your story about accountability. It helped some people in my support group. Silence crackled over the line. Then, thank you, both of you, for not letting me hide anymore. After we hung up, Damien raised his glass again. To accountability? To truth, I corrected, looking around at these people who'd become my real family. Even when it hurts. Speaking of truth, Violet grinned, the truth is these burgers need more sauce. The sauce is perfect, Damien protested. Tell her, Felicity. I laughed. Really laughed. The sound echoing off walls that had once held so many heavy secrets. Now they held artwork Violet had painted during recovery. Photos of our Sunday dinners, strings of lights Damien installed to fight off darkness. The truth is, I said, reaching for the sauce bottle, family isn't about protecting secrets. It's about protecting each other's light. Even when that light burns away comfortable lies? Olivia asked softly. Especially then. I passed the sauce to Violet. Because real love isn't about keeping people comfortable. It's about keeping them honest. Deep thoughts for a burger night, Rachel teased. Every night's deep when you've rebuilt your life from scratch, I said, but I was smiling. The evening wrapped us in warmth and laughter, honest conversations and genuine care. No manipulation, No hidden agendas, no sacrificing truth for comfort. Just family. The kind you choose, the kind you build, the kind that makes you stronger instead of smaller. And as the sun set over my balcony, painting the sky in colors of change and hope, I finally understood. Sometimes the bravest thing isn't standing by family no matter what. Sometimes it's standing up to them, even if you have to stand alone. But if you're lucky, really lucky, you don't stay alone for long.